They say St. Petersburg was constructed on water, but the true foundation of this city? It's built on secrets. Beneath its grand palaces, hidden tunnels still murmur with the echoes of Cold War anxieties. On its bustling streets, the spirit of Rasputin is said to wander, laughing in the shadows. What happens when the sun refuses to set for 50 nights straight? And up above, more than 300 bridges rise at night, transforming the city into a floating maze. What's fact and what's just a story? Let's dive in and find out together. In the shadowy corners of St. Petersburg, the beauty you see by daylight fades into something much deeper and mysterious as night falls. Let's begin at Yusupov Palace, one of the grandest estates in the city. Within these gilded walls, Grigory Rasputin, the mystic who mesmerized the Russian royal family, took his final breaths. Some locals claim his ghost still wanders the halls, laughing softly, as though he knows secrets will never uncover. Out in Senate Square stands the Bronze Horseman, an enormous statue of Peter the Great on horseback. At first glance, it seems like just a monument, a tribute to the city's founder. But if you ask the locals, they'll say, as long as the Bronze Horseman stands untouched, St. Petersburg will never fall. It may sound like myth until you realize that the only time the statue was ever hidden was during World War II. For nearly 900 days, St. Petersburg endured the brutal siege of Leningrad, yet the Bronze Horseman remained standing tall, carefully wrapped to shield it from shrapnel. Was it a coincidence? Maybe. Or perhaps Peter the Great still protects his city from the afterlife. What's your theory? Do you believe in the legend of the Bronze Horseman? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. Yet some of St. Petersburg's most intriguing mysteries lie below the surface, literally. The city's metro system is more than a way to get around. It's one of the deepest metros in the world, descending as far as 86 meters, deeper than a 20-story building. Officially, it's an engineering wonder. Unofficially, it's a hidden fortress. Many of these tunnels were built not just for transportation, but for survival. Documents declassified in 2024 confirmed what locals have long whispered. Certain metro stations also double as secret bunkers, built to shelter thousands in the event of nuclear war. One retired metro worker, Vladimir M., now 72, gave a chilling account to reporters last year. There's a tunnel off the main line near Admiraltskaya station. We were told never to go near it. Once, I saw two men enter. They never returned. By the next morning, that tunnel was sealed off, like it never even existed. Now that we've explored the hidden depths of St. Petersburg, it's time to shift our focus. When the sun never sets, this city becomes something even stranger. Stay tuned. In most cities, sunset marks the end of the day. But in St. Petersburg, during the height of summer, the sun stubbornly refuses to set. From late May through early July, darkness is almost a forgotten memory. For nearly 50 days, the city is bathed in a soft, silvery light, a natural marvel known as the White Nights. In 2025, the St. Petersburg Tourism Committee reported that more than 4.5 million visitors came to experience the White Night season. But for locals, this is more than just a spectacle, it's a state of mind. Sleep becomes optional. The lines between night and day blur, and every evening feels like the start of a weekend. The streets turn into stages for celebration. However, one night stands above the rest, the Scarlet Sails Festival. Originally a post-World War II celebration for graduating students, it has since transformed into something far greater. Today, it's Russia's largest public celebration, drawing over 1 million people to the banks of the Neva River. For Sergei, a lifelong local photographer, White Nights hold a special place. In an interview with Russia Travel Journal last year, he described the experience. It's the only time the city feels truly alive. You finish your day, meet with friends, stroll along the canals, and suddenly it's 3 in the morning, yet the sky is still glowing. You don't go home, you keep living. What would you do with 50 days of endless daylight? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your ideas. So why does this happen in St. Petersburg, a city far from the Arctic Circle? Scientists point to latitude. St. Petersburg lies at 59.9 degrees north, just shy of the polar regions where the midnight sun is most famous. But science doesn't explain everything. Some locals believe the light reveals the city's hidden soul, as if the ghosts of poets, artists, and dreamers rise with the midnight glow. Others think it's a reward from the cosmos, a gift to a city that has survived centuries of war, floods, and revolution, an eternal flame for a place that refuses to succumb to the dark. Have you ever been somewhere that felt too perfect, like there had to be something hidden just beneath the surface? Let's descend into the St. Petersburg metro, not just a way to get around, but a living museum beneath the streets. With 54 stations across 5 lines, each stop feels like a gateway into the city's artistic soul, some shimmering with Soviet pride, others echoing the elegance of Imperial Russia. Opened in 1955, the St. Petersburg Metro wasn't just built for transportation, but to awe. Stations like Avtovo sparkle with towering glass columns, while Admiralteyskaya, one of the deepest metro stations in the world, drops an astonishing 86 meters underground, deeper than a 20-story building hidden beneath the city. According to the 2025 Russian Ministry of Transport report, the St. Petersburg Metro moves over 2.5 million passengers every day. It's highly efficient, with trains boasting a 98% on-time rate. But these numbers only tell part of the story. The rest lies deeper underground. Documents declassified in 2024 by the Russian Federal Archival Agency confirmed what many had long suspected. Several metro stations also serve as nuclear bunkers, capable of sheltering thousands if war ever broke out. Hidden corridors branch off the main platforms, some sealed for decades, others quietly maintained. Deep beneath Primorskaya station, engineers found a sealed Soviet-era room last year, fully stocked with Cold War survival gear, from gas masks to canned food marked with 1978. Local historians think these passages connect to secret tunnels under nearby government buildings and palaces. One retired metro worker, Anatoly K., who spent 32 years working maintenance on Line 3, shared a chilling story in a 2025 interview with the Russian Urban History Project. There's a maintenance tunnel off Sportovnaya station. We were warned not to go down it alone. Once, during my first year, a colleague dared me to walk through after hours. I went 200 meters in, and suddenly the lights flickered off. I could hear dripping water and footsteps, but no one was there. I ran back. We never spoke about it again. Whether or not you believe Anatoly's story, one fact remains: the deeper you venture into St. Petersburg's metro, the more secrets the city hides from view. Step out from the metro tunnels, and you'll find yourself surrounded by water at every turn. St. Petersburg isn't called the Venice of the North for nothing. With over 300 bridges and more than 100 islands, the city becomes a floating maze, where history seems to drift with the tides. Among all of St. Petersburg's waterways, the Neva River stands out as the most legendary. Running through the center of the city, it's more than just a river, it's the city's backbone, connecting its rich history, vibrant culture, even in daily life into one flowing current. Taking a river cruise is a must-do here. Every summer, over 2 million visitors board these boats, gliding past the Winter Palace, the Peter and Paul Fortress, and a series of grand imperial mansions that look like they've been pulled from a Russian fairy tale. But the real magic happens at night. When midnight comes, the bridges rise, massive steel arms lifting toward the sky to allow ships to pass from the Baltic Sea into the heart of the city. Crowds gather at the water's edge, couples share a champagne toast, and for just a few perfect moments, the entire city stops to admire its reflection in the river. The beauty isn't just in the view. Many of the most opulent palaces, like the Yusupov Palace and the Strogov Palace, weren't just built near the canals, they were designed to be reached by water. For centuries, this was how Russia's elite lived, sailing right up to their doorsteps. Even today, some of these palaces are said to hold secrets beneath their floors. There are private docks, hidden escape tunnels, and rooms flooded long ago when the Neva overflowed. In 2024, during restoration work at the Shuvalov Palace, workers uncovered a sealed boathouse packed with decaying furniture, personal letters from the 1800s, and a locked wooden chest with no key. Its contents? Still a mystery. So, if you could arrive at your front door by boat every night, would you trade your car keys for a captain's hat? Share your thoughts in the comments, And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you won't miss any exciting videos in the future. St. Petersburg isn't just a city you visit, it's a city you experience with all your senses. Every street, every building, every canal seems to breathe with life, history, and art. The city itself feels like a vast open-air museum where art spills from galleries into the streets and history is waiting to be discovered around every corner. Let's begin with the most famous landmark of all, the Hermitage Museum. Located along the Neva River, the Hermitage is one of the world's largest and oldest museums, holding over 3 million works of art and historical treasures. From Da Vinci's masterpieces to ancient Scythian gold, the Hermitage isn't just a museum, it's a journey through time. If you spent just 1 minute at each exhibit, it would take you over 6 years to see everything. But here's something not everyone knows. The Hermitage has a secret army of about 50 cats, living in the basement and protecting the artwork from rats and mice. These feline guardians have been part of the museum's history since the 18th century. Just a short walk away is the Mariinsky Theater, a grand icon of Russian culture. Since its opening in 1860, it's been the heart of ballet and opera in St. Petersburg, where world-class performances continue to enchant visitors. But art in St. Petersburg isn't limited to museums and theaters. It's in the city's soul, immortalized in its literature. As you wander along the canals, you're walking in the footsteps of literary legends like Alexander Pushkin, the poet who shaped Russian literature. And just around a corner, you might find the old home of Fyodor Dostoevsky, the author who turned St. Petersburg into a character itself in his novels, including Crime and Punishment. For those wanting to dive even deeper into the city's cultural heritage, there's a hidden treasure on Leniny Prospect, the Anna Akhmatova Museum, dedicated to the poet who endured through the harshest years of Soviet repression. This museum isn't grand or luxurious, but personal. Akhmatova's desk remains just as she left it, her poems still scattered across notebooks under the dim light of her small lamp. In the back garden, a statue of her stands tall, facing toward the old KGB building, a symbol that art survives even in times of oppression. So what kind of art touches you the most? Is it paintings, music, or stories written in books? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what inspires you. In St. Petersburg, when it comes to food, you don't just eat, you taste the layers of history in every dish. Let's begin with the classics, the dishes every Russian holds close to their heart. First, beef stroganoff, a creamy and savory masterpiece first served in the 1800s at the table of Count Alexander Stroganov, one of the wealthiest men in Imperial Russia. Next, we have blini with caviar, thin, delicate pancakes wrapped around pearls of shining black or red roe. Once a symbol of luxury, blini became a common street food during Soviet times, often served with jam, honey, or sour cream when caviar was too costly. For a taste of Soviet history, step into one of St. Petersburg's few remaining stolovayas, Soviet-style canteens that have stayed the same since the 1970s. Plastic trays glide along metal rails and the menu is simple: borscht, meat cutlets, mashed potatoes, and a sweet fruit drink. But today's St. Petersburg cuisine isn't stuck in the past. Modern chefs are blending traditional Russian flavors with global influences, shaping a new identity for the city's food scene. At restaurants like Dochniki in Katyusha, you might find dumplings stuffed with crab or borscht mixed with Japanese miso. Even the famous pishki, St. Petersburg's beloved donuts, are being given a modern twist, with toppings like salted caramel or blackcurrant glaze. Every summer, the city itself becomes an open-air gallery and food festival. During the St. Petersburg Street Art Festival, murals appear overnight, covering old buildings with bold, colorful stories. Meanwhile, food stalls pop up along Nevsky Prospect, offering grilled skewers and Georgian khachapuri, while local bands keep the energy alive late into the evening. The 2025 St. Petersburg Cultural Development Report estimates that over 800,000 visitors flock to the street art and food festival each year, making it one of Russia's largest cultural events. So if you could only try one Russian dish in St. Petersburg, which would it be? Stroganoff, blini, or perhaps something completely new? Share your answer in the comments. I'm curious to hear your adventurous side. Food and culture provide a glimpse into a city's soul, But if you truly want to understand why St. Petersburg became such a powerful cultural and economic hub, you need to look at its location on the map. Nestled in northwest Russia, St. Petersburg covers 1,439 square kilometers. What makes its position remarkable is its role as Russia's gateway to Europe. To the north, only 300 kilometers away, lies Finland. To the west, the Gulf of Finland opens into the Baltic Sea, connecting St. Petersburg to ports in Estonia, Sweden, and Germany. A drive to Tallinn, the capital of Estonia, takes less than 5 hours, closer than a trip from New York to Boston. Thanks to this unique location, St. Petersburg has always looked westward, adopting European trends and ideas faster than other Russian cities. This is why the city's architecture, fashion, and cafe culture feel distinctly European. Peter the Great intentionally built the city to resemble a European capital rather than a traditional Russian one. In fact, a cultural survey conducted in 2025 by the Russian Center for Sociological Research found that 78% of St. Petersburg's residents consider themselves to have a European mindset, compared to only 42% of Moscow's population. This geographic divide has fueled a cultural rivalry that has simmered for centuries. Moscow, a city of power, politics, and high-speed business. St. Petersburg, a city of art, history, and the romantic meeting of Europe and Russia. Even the weather sets the two apart. While Moscow experiences harsh winters and hot summers, St. Petersburg's maritime climate brings cooler, rainier, and more unpredictable conditions. But being Russia's window to Europe has its challenges. St. Petersburg's location has made it a primary target in nearly every major conflict. From Napoleon's invasions to the siege of Leningrad during World War II, its position has placed it directly in the line of fire. Today, the strategic importance still shapes the city's governance, defense, and connections. As of 2025, the Russian Defense Ministry continues to classify St. Petersburg as a priority for military infrastructure, given its proximity to NATO borders. Open loop to next chapter. How do these factors, location, cultural clashes, and a history of survival, shape the way people live in St. Petersburg today? Stay tuned, because we'll dive deeper into that in the next chapter. St. Petersburg isn't the type of city that slowly stirs to life. By 7 in the morning, Nevsky Prospect, the city's main artery, is already alive with activity. Students rush toward the metro, coffee cups in hand, while office workers line up at street kiosks for fresh piroshki, those warm, flaky pastries filled with meat or cabbage. But mornings are only part of the story. As the sun sets, or during summer when it barely sets at all, the city changes. Chandeliers glow inside elegant cafes. Rubinstein Street, the city's renowned dining avenue, is packed with couples, tourists, and the after-work crowd. By midnight, the energy shifts again. Luxury cars slide past historic palaces. In hidden courtyards, pop-up bars come to life, while music from underground clubs floats up through the old cobblestone streets. According to the 2025 St. Petersburg Cultural and Economic Report, more than 14,000 cafes, bars, and restaurants operate across the city, one of the highest concentrations of social venues in Europe. This social scene stretches from historic areas like Palace Square to modern creative spaces like Sevkabel Port, an old industrial zone now transformed into a hotspot for art markets, food festivals, and live music every weekend. However, all this vibrant life comes with a cost. In 2025, the average rent for a 2-bedroom apartment in central St. Petersburg reached $1,650 per month, according to DomClick, Russia's largest real estate platform. That may seem reasonable by Western standards, but here's the challenge. The average salary in St. Petersburg is roughly $924 per month, meaning many residents spend over half their income just to afford a place to live. This financial strain has sparked a side hustle culture, where people juggle 2 or even 3 jobs, bartending at night, freelance designing by day, and maybe running historical walking tours on the weekend. If Moscow is all about power and ambition, St. Petersburg is about soul. In Moscow, success is measured by money and influence. Or in St. Petersburg, success is about being part of the scene, whether that means exhibiting at a local gallery, getting a reservation at the latest fusion restaurant, or knowing which hidden rooftop bar has the best view of the Neva River. You can spot this difference by just watching the streets. In Moscow, designer suits and luxury labels dominate. In St. Petersburg, styles are a mix, some polished, some purposefully bohemian, often among the same group of friends. People care about looking good, but here, it's more important to look interesting. Yet behind all this beauty, there's also a certain toughness. St. Petersburg's weather is famously unpredictable. One moment the sun is warming the canals, the next a cold sea breeze cuts through your coat. Rain falls on more than 200 days a year. So how do the people of St. Petersburg, with their creativity, style, and drive, find balance in a city that constantly pushes them between beauty and struggle? To truly understand, we need to go back to the very beginning, to the vision of Peter the Great. To truly understand why St. Petersburg feels so different from other Russian cities, we need to go back over 300 years, to a time when this land was nothing but swamps and forests, swept by the cold winds of the Baltic Sea. No palaces, no canals, just mud and silence. But in 1703, one man stood on these marshes and envisioned something no one else could. That man was Peter the Great. Peter wasn't just a ruler, he was a builder, obsessed with progress. After traveling across Europe, visiting shipyards, palaces, and trade hubs, Peter returned home convinced that Russia needed a window to the west. Moscow was too far inland, too tied to old traditions. Peter wanted something new, something that would force Russia to open itself to Europe. On May 27, 1703, Peter ordered the first stones to be laid for a city unlike any Russia had ever seen, right on the banks of the Neva River. This was a place that froze solid in winter, flooded in spring, and seemed impossible to control. But Peter didn't care. He brought in architects from Italy, Germany, and the Netherlands, commanding them to design wide boulevards, grand palaces, and canals that echoed the great cities of Europe, especially Amsterdam and Venice. Within a generation, St. Petersburg became the new capital of the Russian Empire. But the story of St. Petersburg didn't end with Peter. The city became a mirror of Russia's changing identity. In 1914, as World War I began, its German-sounding name, St. Petersburg, was changed to Petrograd, a more Slavic alternative. After the Bolshevik Revolution and Lenin's death, the city was renamed once again in 1924, becoming Leningrad, the heart of Soviet power. Then, in 1991, following the collapse of the Soviet Union, the people voted to restore its original name, St. Petersburg, honoring the vision of Peter the Great. You can still feel Peter's dream alive in the city's streets today. The European-style boulevards, the grand facades along the canals, and the very essence that St. Petersburg is not just Russian, but a bridge between worlds. Yet Peter's influence goes beyond architecture. St. Petersburg's independent spirit, its deep love of art, and its ability to blend tradition with innovation, and all come from the mind of a ruler who refused to be limited by what seemed possible. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support truly means the world to us. Click on the video that's appearing on your screen right now. You're sure to enjoy this next piece of content. Let us know in the comments which country you'd like us to feature next. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for joining us. Leave a comment, give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe for more interesting videos. See you in the next video.